What up, gamers? We are back with some more modern action. This time around, we've got Sultai Infect versus Izzet Affinity. I like this. You know, every time that we get to see Infect on camera, you know I am a hardcore Infect lover and fan, and have been playing the deck on and off for the last, I don't know, what do we have, 10 plus years now at this point, which is crazy to think about. I'm not playing in this specific matchup, but let's talk a little bit about what is the difference between Sultai Infect and like the Simic Infect. So the big reasons that you're going to be running Sultai over the Simic version is you get access to some disruption, some removal with like Thoughtseize, Inquisitions, Fatal Pushes, those types of things. But also you get a super powerful creature known as Phyrexian Crusader there. Pro-red, pro-white, 2/2, Infect, of course, and it's really, really strong. So definitely worth it if you have a heavier, Boros Energy or red-based decks running around your shop. That is a great way to go about things. Now, the other side of things is Izzet Affinity, which is very similar to old school Affinity now, where you're just dumping your hand. Now, we've seen various artifact decks come and go and rise up and fall within the meta over the years. Some very broken one from things like KCI, from even like the Underworld Breach combos and like combo-based ones, but also just powerful aggro-based strategies that we get to see in this Affinity list. So we're going to be seeing how things are going to work out. Normally you can go very wide with this deck, but also have that super powerful Pierce strategy with like a Kappa Cannoneer, with cranial platings, things like that. So it is definitely a reminiscent of the old school 2015 era Affinity list here. So we see quite a bit of, dumping of the hand, but no second land drop, no blue source or red source yet, no Springleaf Drum to kind of really power this hand up. We see an elf that can get blocked by the Ornithopter because it is a 1/2 right now. Pendlehaven is a huge, draw for us here as an Infect player because this allows our, of course, Glistener Elf to become a 2/3, so we'll be able to survive combat here of the block against the Ornithopter, and that is going to be the trade-off there. This allows us to kind of keep whatever pump spells that we might be having in our hand because, using a pump spell, a Might or a Groundswell or things like that doesn't feel as good when you're sitting here fighting against like an Ornithopter and trying to clear blockers out of the way. All right, we're going to see just sort of a pass turn now. Does that mean death? It is very possible. We'll see. Of course, definitely 2 damage for sure off the Pendlehaven, but looks like scale up. All right, we got a 6/4 worm. So of course we could, do some little bit. Yeah, there it is. All right, it's like we could have some follow-up pumps, and there it is. Vines kicked this time. So of course does get the pseudo hexproof, but also +4/+4. So super fast pace. 3-minute long game 1 here, and we get into the sideboard and get into game number 2. So definitely going to be a little bit of a longer one, hopefully, for this series, you would assume, but that's what you're kind of hoping for. Best case scenario, you get the explosive turn there and you're able to kind of just dumpster your opponent in a little bit there. So if you like this content, like our weekly gameplay coverage, as well as kind of the talking head videos and other such stuff, please hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. Likes, comments, do all those things. Let me know what decks you're currently playing in Modern. Let me know if there's a deck that you wish you could see. Have you guys been seeing any of the, discussions about the Modern 2015 format that's kind of been popping up? I've been seeing a lot of that stuff on social media and just sort of seeing old school deck lists and people being like, hey, here's my 2015 Jund list. And it's just like everything that you remember from 2015 era Modern, and just like, oh, this is crazy. But we see a mulligan take place here for our Sultai Infect. I mean, one thing that we do see immediately to kind of help the Izzet player out is we do've got a red source already there in hand here. So, we'll see what gets shipped to the bottom. Put that down there, ready to go. All right, Spirebluff Canal. Wooded Foothills going to be turning into a Shockland here. My assumption is going to be, what are we going for? Probably the Overgrown Tomb would be my guess, but we could go for a Breeding Pool depending on what's in hand. Like, because it is Sultai, you do get access to, Blighted Agent and things like that, but that's really the only blue card. So more likely than not, because you're on Sultai, you want to get your double black sources as quickly as possible to get access to your Venerated Rot Priest, Venerated Rot Priest? No. Phyrexian Crusader. My brain, the wires are getting crossed already. All right, Cranial Platon for turn 2. No threats yet. No threats for either player. Yeah, there's the Ignoble Hierarch, but that's not really going to be utilized as damage. You could. I have won games with a Hierarch before. It does happen. There's the Rot Priest coming out here. So yeah, getting the wires crossed of cards in hand there. But Rot Priest is very nice because when our opponents are casting spells at our creatures, we do get to give them points of counters also when we do it. Now, Pinnacle Emissary, the main reason that old school Affinity has risen back up is because of this card from Edge of Eternities. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you get to start creating drones here. So Ornithopter going to come out, make a drone, and pass. Now we hard cast this, so that is the 3 mana to be able to keep that around. Of course, if we warped it in, it costs 1 mana, then you could dump a bunch of stuff, and then it goes into exile that you can cast later on. There's the Phyrexian Crusader. So yeah, we needed that double black. Did we, first strike, protection from red, protection from white. So pretty solid here. Whipping? No, wait a minute. Oh. Improvise. Colorless and blue. Kappa Cannoneer. Trigger. Of course, when it enters or another artifact enters, you get to put a +1 counter on it. 6 artifacts makes this cost 6 less because of the affinity for our artifacts, meaning we get to draw 2 cards, and we have another threat, and it's flying. So that means that Cranioplating that we could attach onto it next turn, we could really just kind of end our opponent here. So we're going to see no, white creatures out. There's 1 red creature and he's tapped, so it's like the Phyrexian Crusader that would normally be really useful and really powerful for like the combat stuff, not going to be as effective and helpful right there. So okay, scale up. See, this is the thing too. It's like, the debate on, do we need to run a Rancor or something like that back in the list? That used to be, a one of players would run back in the 2015 era of Infect. It's kind of come and gone depending on how go wide some of the creatures deck. And I think that if you are running into like a lot more of the affinity stuff at your shop, it could be beneficial to go for that. I have Distortion Strike in my list because I am just Simic, so I have the ability to give a creature unblockable and +1 attack. But the trample here could be really relevant, especially with the scale up, right? So yeah, I mean, 8 trample damage would be awesome. But clear that out of the way. Put at least the mark. There shouldn't be a point marked on that. It should also be dead. All right. Scale up is a 6 power, so both those creatures should be dead there, right? I don't know. Ooh, 7. It's 7 damage because of the Exalted trigger as well. So yeah, there's plenty. All the creatures should be dead. Kill them all. All right, Breeding Pool coming up. I'm trying to think if is there a way out of this situation, though. Kappa Cannoneer is already a 7/7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ornithopters, 6 damage if we equip it with the... Ooh. Okay, pushing the Pinnacle Emissary. I like that. Yeah, Ornithopter should be dead, though. Will it matter? Let's see. Land. Unless I messed up and didn't miss something, but there, Thoughtcast going to get utilized. Still 4 artifacts left, even if Ornithopter wasn't on the battlefield, so no issues there. Debating about how we're tapping. Oh, there's a spring leaf. Now we get access to equipping the cranial plating at instant speed if we wanted to. All right, because we get to attach it instead of equip it. Memnite. Equip. Well, I guess it's double black, isn't it? Yeah, double black, so no, we can't. That's okay. All right. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If Ornithopter wasn't there, 8 because Ornithopter is there. We've cast an artifact, so it is currently 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17 damage coming across here. Unblockable. That's that pure strategy we were talking about. Response to get you to waste mana, vines, but doesn't actually matter because there's ward 4, so we'll scoop it up and go to game number 3 here. What a way to kind of show both players kind of, duking it out in there. Very fast game number 1. Game number 2 here all came down to that pure strategy with the Kappa Cannoneer. So nice seeing kind of both decks really be able to do the thing so far. Our gameplay to let you know about our new affiliate with NerdGear. nerdgear.gg/nanman will take you directly to the website, and as you can see, they've got a bunch of awesome gaming accessories from playmats, life counters with the life tracks, playmat holders, and more. So make sure you do some browsing on the site, find some goodies, and then use the code NGNanman for 5% off your entire order. But let's get back to our gameplay. Interrupt your gameplay for a special announcement. All right, game number 3 for all the marbles. Let's see how things work out here between these two players. How fast are they going to go? How much kind of, disruption will take place? We get to see a little bit from the Sultai, not so much from the Izzet Affinity. It's really just sort of like, all right, I'm dumping. Here's all my hand. Let's go. Let's kind of just equip the stuff, go wide, pierce you, like so many different ways to kind of interact and attack your opponents. So, all right. Sultai player does get to go first here. Do they like it? Looks like the Void Winnower. Is that what that is? Void, if you cast no mana to cast a spell or use no colored mana to cast a spell, it's countered. But because it's Izzet Affinity, there's a lot of ways that you're just like, all right, here's blue, here's red. So, yeah, it looks like we are going to go for a mulligan. Must also not have had maybe enough creatures or pump spells that we were comfortable with. I think there was a Rot Priest, but maybe that was it. And a Rot Priest by itself is not really where you want to be, right? It puts you in a position where you're like, okay, this is cute. I get to do some triggers and pump it and stuff like that, but my opponent isn't targeting me, so I don't get to do a little bit of buff of things and protect it, and so we'll see how things go with the mulligan here. All right, we did talk a little bit last week. If you guys missed the video, we did pick up some of our Riftbound starter decks. We have started to do a little bit of unboxing recordings and filming with it to show you guys what's in it. At some point, we'll probably do just a bonus gameplay. Here's Riftbound, but that'll be a little bit before we get into all of that stuff. But let's focus on the Magic side of things right now. Fetching. What are we going for? Yeah, okay. So you can get to see a good chunk of the list here. It looks like all the Phyrexian Crusaders look pretty clumped up. So also, more likely than not, we're getting the Overgrown Tomb, but getting the breeding pool here as an Infect player, it's kind of giving us the indication, oh, there is going to be a Blighted Agent available to us soon, or we already have one in our hand. By fetching that over the black source, this is telegraphing for myself to understand, but if you're not used to playing against the Infect as much or playing the Infect, you might just sort of okay, cool, they've got, this specific land. Oh, Dryad Arbor is in the list too. Inkmoth Nexus is nice. Rot Priest is great. Okay, so yeah, we're setting ourselves up. Next turn, we will be able to have a land and have a little bit of way to protect our Blighted Agent. That's the other thing too. You don't ever really want to just jam a Blighted Agent out on turn 2 without kind of backup and protection. So usually you're dropping that on turn 3, unless you're playing against sort of a all-in combo-based deck that you need to get that out early enough, like a Neoform or things like that. All right. Taking one. Oh, activate. Interesting. We don't have a protection, but we got some pumps. So this is what we were talking about before of how it feels a little bit bad to use your might to kill off a creature like this. That's basically all we're doing. Now we do get a guaranteed poison to do that. So use all of our mana, one spell, give our opponent a poison. It doesn't feel as good. Equip and pass turn, though. Oh, did we draw vines? I think we did. So this gives us that indication that it is safe for us to be able to deploy our Blighted Agent here. So that's the unblockableness, the most powerful infect creature printed to date for competitive play. Ooh, big mana spell here. Thought Monitor coming down. Only have 3 artifacts, so still got to cast this for 4. Draw 2 cards, though. And now we got a couple of creatures out, but we don't have anything to interact with our opponent. I think we should have flown in there for 3. All right, Scale Up's going to get used. That gives another bit of poison counter, and then here is 6 damage, dropping our opponent to 8 total poison counters. We need 10 in order to eliminate them. So this is basically saying you die this turn unless you have an answer for my Blighted Agent. And even if they do answer the Blighted Agent, if the Sultai player has 2 pump spells, they win. So you basically need to have an answer for Blighted Agent and then hope that we can find a way to deal with the Rot Priest without, you know, pushing it off a cliff, hitting it with the lightning bolt, things like that. That's where, like, the other artifact decks in Modern come in handy, where, like, the Hardened Scales get access to things like the Walking Ballistas and stuff like that you can answer it. But Pinnacle, we're going to warp in the Pinnacle this time. Ornithopter, trigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 artifacts right now. Okay. It's still a lot of damage we can swing in for. Oh, trigger. Are we just going to try to kill our opponents here then? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. So both the creatures will get +9/+9. That's enough. So this is one of those weird situations here that if we did not have Inkmoth available, like if we went all in last turn or something like that. Oh, man. Okay. Lethal. 11 power and 9 power coming across. Yeah, let's jump in front of the biggest. Get a -1 counter on it. We'll take 9. Go to 9, but we had to pay a life off the Nurturing Peatland there to go to 8. But do we have a pump? Hey, Vines. Hey, there we go. +4/+4. Gets, of course, that 9th poison counter there, and then that last little bit there for, 5 more damage. So technically 14 poison counter. Oh, very close for both. Like, it really was like if that Inkmoth didn't exist there or we tapped wrong, we would have just died to the double cranial there. That's the explosiveness of the Affinity list and the explosiveness of the Sultai Infect. I like this match a lot because we really got to see both of the decks show off what they're trying to do. Ooh, Whip Flare is really nice. Unholy Heat is going to be great in the current meta. Get to see Void Mirror. Force of Vigor, very nice, though. I like that a lot. It's tough, though, if you're like, I want to get rid of the big, scary Kappa Cannoneer. You don't have anything against that. Once it's out, you're in trouble. So, but yeah, not being able to see a lot of interaction does make it tough. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. A little bit of a fast-paced one to start out the week. Of course, we do have gameplay every Monday and Thursday. So make sure to check back any previous episodes that you might have missed. But that's going to do it for us here today. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, everyone, and I'll see you all next game.